What's up, everybody, and welcome back to our weekly fantasy podcast. I changed it from fantasy football to fantasy because we're running out of football. But let me invite my good pal, Mr. Improv Pete, on to come get me through this.
As I live and breathe.
Now popping up the thing, Super Bowl is here. Woo!
Yeah, I don't know why that's not up there.
There we go.
Jeez.
There's something. Super Bowl's here. We did it. So we've made it to the week of the Super Bowl.
We did.
So let's start off by not talking about the Super Bowl.
I love it.
Your Saints hired a coach. They did it.
Defensive coordinator.
Oh. Is this who we wanted?
That's fine. I have no problems with that.
Is it, though? Is it fine?
You have somebody that's been in the organization. He's been right next to Sean Payton, so he sees how he works. He's probably going to implement his own ideas, his own strategies. I don't see how this can't be for the up and up because in the organization, the guys already have, well, at least on the defensive front, like good old Cam Jordan, like he's worked with him before, but people like Jameis Winston, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Traquan Smith, they don't work. So I think that will be an adjustment, but by all means, I think this was a brilliant idea, especially for the Saints. Keep it in-house, see if the kid can do it, and if he can, then you know what, we tried, but not our year.
Well, I'm going to run something by you. I wish the other Saint fan was here to chime in with his genius brain power. Did they hire this guy because there's going to be a change in philosophy in New Orleans? And I ask that because Drew Brees is retired, Michael Thomas will probably be gone, and your star running back decided to beat people up.
Okay. Now, I have a couple things to say on this.
Oh.
So it was interesting. I saw in an article somewhere that the new head coach was like, yeah, we're going to work with Michael Thomas. When he's ready to come back, he's ready. And we've had numerous conversations on this very show. Definitely check them out, where we say that there's no way the Saints can keep Michael Thomas. And as a Saints fan, I don't want to keep Michael Thomas. So that's number one.
Let me cut you off real quickly. Because of this latest debacle, they may be saving money elsewhere. So now Michael Thomas staying might be more of a possibility. Because, somebody else.
But who's your quarterback next year then? Jameis Winston's going to be your quarterback?
Taysom Hill's going to be under contract one way or another. But the point being is they're very over the salary cap. So Michael Thomas would have been an easy cut. But then, like I said, somebody decided, what happens in Vegas gets beat down in Vegas and, laid the smackdown. So who knows what's going to happen with that. So that could save them some money and open up possibilities.
Do you think the Saints will cut him?
We have to see what comes of this. Absolutely. Better, bigger players have been cut for, Adrian Peterson for beating his child got suspended for the year and cut, essentially.
So you think he's definitely
he's a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Nobody's writing Alvin Kamara in the Hall of Fame just yet.
So he's going to get hit with the suspension.
He's more than likely getting hit with a suspension. Is it going to be a year suspension? Is it going to be a half a year? What is it going to be? These are all things that need to be seen.
Yeah, of course.
But again, if say he gets a year suspension, the Saints can still hold on to him and, use that as cap relief. But that's on them because that's not a good PR thing when you got, your players running around just, beat the fuck out of you because I'm Alvin Kamara. That doesn't really make, a guy who could be one of your faces of your franchise just, running around laying a smackdown on everyone doesn't look too good. So that's why I'm kind of curious to maybe they're going to say, hey, Michael Thomas, goodbye. Alvin Kamara, enjoy jail or whatever he's going. He's an athlete, so he probably won't go to jail. But, Alvin Kamara, see you later.
On whatever team you end up on.
We have a defensive coach. We're going to stack our defense and then, use future draft picks to start remolding this offense. Something like that. I don't know. Obviously, it'll be to be seen, but They hired a defensive coach. Didn't have a great start. It's not even the offseason technically yet, but they haven't had a great start because Kamara, that's just not a good look no matter what.
Of course, of course.
And, so it'll be interesting because they need to get the cap room to what will actually transpire. There were other coaches hired. Uh, Lovie Smith in Houston, good on them. I always thought Lovie Smith was an acceptable coach. I don't know because he didn't coach good teams. He did take a Bears team to the Super Bowl, but he never had that like super elite team. He didn't take over, and obviously if you're got a powerhouse team, you're probably not changing coaches anyway. But he never really got an above average team. He got like a couple pieces to work with, and he did what he could with that, and never really got anything to build off of forward with those pieces. This Texans team, if Watson's back, maybe he'll have a superstar quarterback. Will they give him anything to work with? Probably not. But again,
Because who's over there? Just Cooks right now is the only one over
but
there.
I think they picked him up for another year. But yeah, so what are you excited about David Johnson? He did nothing.
Yeah.
Rex Burkhead, things like that. You're not giving him, if you're giving him those pieces again, you're not setting him up to succeed anyway. So, but I
Agreed.
think he's a good coach. He's a very good defensive coach. So if the Texans have a horrible offense, and I'm not even saying that it's on him, but if the Texans have a horrible offense because they have no pieces, say they don't have Watson, whatever, but their defense shows up for games, that's all him, and you know that. But because he gets put in bad situations, he may just be looked at as like a defensive coordinator, which I don't know if that's fine to him. Maybe, maybe not. There has been this whole thing about trying to get minority coaches into football. Like head coaching positions. So this is a good start. But other than that, I mean, we're talking about spending half our show talking about coaches for the second straight week
I'm saying.
because there ain't no football being played yet. So
Not until Sunday.
correct. So now we can get into that. Not until Sunday. So we've got a game. So before we pick winners and this and that, give me a little something. Who do you think is gonna really show out in the big stage? I had a conversation with somebody about this, and they were like, oh, let's get Stafford. They weren't a Rams fan, but they're like, hey, I want to see Stafford get a ring because Stafford's a good guy, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, look, don't get me wrong. As soon as they got Stafford, I picked the Rams to win the Super Bowl. I don't remember it was on this show, but I know I've said it many times, and I'm sure there's many texts that have said that. Like I like Stafford. I've always liked Stafford. Joe Burrow, though, has actually been on the big stage. Granted, it wasn't in the NFL, but he played a national title game not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's not the same, but he's been there. So in that sense, it's almost like Joe Burrow has more experience than Matt Stafford. But give me a guy who you think's gonna go off. I mean, Cooper Kupp's usually an easy bet. Jamar Chase is probably an easy bet. But who you got? Who you liking in the Super Bowl? Who's just gonna say, hey, you know what? I'm on the big stage. You know, I'm that guy.
I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to three men:
Go ahead.
Aaron Donald,
Of course.
Von Miller,
Probably.
and Jalen Ramsey to cover Chase. I think that he will be able to cover Chase no problem, and I don't think that the Bengals can handle that Rams D, especially up front with Aaron Donald, who's a two-time, if I believe, Defensive Player of the Year, and Von Miller, who has a Super Bowl ring, has been in the big game before, knows what it's like. Aaron Donald's hungry, wants that ring. Stafford to bring. I think those you're going to see it's going to be a high scoring game, but those big plays when it matters, you're going to see Aaron Donald break through. You're going to see Von Miller come, and I think that's going to be the difference maker. You have listen, Chase is a great receiver, and so is Cooper Kupp. There's no doubt about that. Cooper Kupp is the best receiver this year in fantasy and in NFL. That's just facts. Chase had one of the best, if not best, rookie year in many years. Like, it's just these teams are you took Stafford out of the Lions and you brought him over to the Rams. And like you said in text and everything, they're a Super Bowl team. And I just think the Rams are too much, and the reason they're going to be too much is those three at the helm, and that's how the Rams are going to take it. Those are my stars.
So I saw a stat line. So this season, this football season, Aaron Donald got double teamed 66% of the time. So 2/3 of the time, a play that got ran, Aaron Donald was double teamed, whether it's rush, pass, whatever. He got double teamed. 26% of that time, he still broke free with two guys covering him. I know that doesn't sound like a huge number, but think about that in a football game. If
Mhm.
you if you count in, say you're punting, kicking a field goal, whatever, an offensive drive is 4 plays. Like if you punting on 4th down, so you can almost guarantee yourself once a drive, once a failed drive, that Aaron Donald is beating a double team and hitting your quarterback or hitting the running back or whoever. So once a drive, Aaron Donald's in your backfield with two guys covering him. That's insane. And it's not like he's 22 years old and jack strength. I'm not calling him old either though, but he's getting up there. So you'd think he'd be slowing down, at least a little bit, and obviously not. Clearly, he's still a beast. He's over here breaking through double teams like they're nothing. Obviously, having help with Von Miller, being able to rush the passer, etc., could help him, but they're still double teaming Aaron Donald, and he's wreaking havoc. So good on that man for putting the work in, keeping himself in pretty good shape, etc. So right now on sites, the Rams are a 4-point favorite. So it sounds like you're picking the Rams to win the game. Are you confident enough for the Rams to cover the spread of 4 points?
No.
So you think it'll be a close game, but the Rams win it?
I think it will be an incredibly close game, but I think the Rams will edge it out at the end.
I'm gonna give you one more, and then you can ask
I
me
want
questions.
let me just paraphrase by saying I want the Bengals. I want the Bengals so bad to win this fucking thing.
Doug, I do too. Now that they're the Super Bowl team, because I had Chiefs and Rams. So I had Chiefs and Rams, and then I easily would have taken the Rams to win. But now that the Bengals are there, even though I picked the Rams to win, obviously the Bengals are more of the feel good story. So I'm kind of conflicted because I'm like, I don't want to be that guy who picked the Rams and now the Rams are here and pick against the Rams.
I
But I
get you.
but I wouldn't be sad if the Bengals won.
Let me tell you something. I hope it's like I said, the key points are going to be these defensive players. I think that's what separates them.
Well, with that being said, though, do we think the Super Bowl gets off to a slow start, like a feeling out, like
Oh,
very slow,
100%.
like a nothing first quarter, or do we think that these two teams just fly up and down the field, and it ends up as like a 45-42 Super Bowl, big
God,
score?
people would talk about it. Well, I think if anybody's going to come hot out of the presses, it's going to be Joe Burrow.
I mean, he's got something to prove. I mean, I guess to the extent Stafford does, just because he got, like you said, he got out of Detroit, and now here he is.
That's why they're two great. Like, this is a quarterback matchup. That can't be understated, ladies and gentlemen. These are two, I think, the two youngest quarterbacks in Super Bowl history.
Coaches, you mean? Yes, it is.
Coaches,
Yep.
excuse me. But even Burrow is already in a Super Bowl. That's incredible.
So again, like I said, I talked to other people outside of our group of friends, etc. People I talked through via internet, through let's be honest, through video games, etc. They were like, "Oh, the Rams have been to the Super Bowl more frequently than the Bengals." Blah blah. So with that being said, yeah, the Rams were the Super Bowl a lot more recently. They didn't look very good. So now a lot of those players aren't there. Obviously, Aaron Donald's still there. Cooper Cup's still there. Robert Woods is hurt, things like that. The running back situation's a lot different. So I'm hoping that we've learned from our past mistakes. Granted, it wasn't even that long ago, and that we actually show up in the Super Bowl this time.
So do
Rams.
all eyes go then to McVay?
If they get off to a bad start again, because you got to remember they did not show up to that
Yeah, I
Super Bowl.
remember.
I get that New England was really good, but they did not show up to that Super Bowl, and they had weapons and could not score on the Patriots. So I think if they get off to a slow start, you're gonna hear the mumblings. McVay can't win the big one. He can't win the big one. He can't win the big one. And that's what's kind of scaring me. It's not that Matt Stafford hasn't been there, things like that. It's more of the ghosts of a few years ago.
Of
Do
his
they
past,
do
yeah.
they creep back in? I get it. Jared Goff's not there. Todd Gurley's not there. Things like that. That this is a different team, but I feel like at this point, and it practically being a home game, that there's going to be a lot more pressure on this Rams team. And if they start slow, granted, the coaches won't hear about it until after the game, but if they start slow, is that a thing that gets into McVay's head? And then after the game, media is going to be all over that.
Of course. So my question then is, then this has to start from both quarterbacks just throwing. That's
Based
what
on based on what they're bringing to the table, like okay, so Henderson is expected to play. Akers is back, and Sony Michel's there. So they have three running backs, but none of them have really been like, oh my god, these are the guys they're gonna carry us. It's been Cooper Cup, it's been Odell Beckham, things like that. He was my playoff sleeper, a guy who I'm gonna. I don't want to encourage things, but a guy that I'm going to use, Kendall Blanton, because it sounds like Higbee's not going to play. So Kendall Blanton will be taking over the number one tight end spot. So I think he's going to be a safe option. Like if you're running daily fantasy or if you're running those certain other things, he might be a guy that you may want to consider, especially where his line is. Like daily fantasy on Yahoo is $14, so it's very affordable. I don't know what his over under is just yet, but I will look into that. And if those numbers are right, the same thing. Even the Bengals, you want to give the smart options for Joe Burrow. Yeah, Chase is the great option. But like you said, Ramsey's probably going to be covering him. So that opens up Boyd. That opens up Higgins. I don't know what's going on at tight end, but whoever ends up playing, Sample, Uzama, I haven't really looked into his thing yet. I'll look at that probably tomorrow. Or whichever tight end's playing, maybe even a little Joe Mixon in action. Some of the experts have said is they say stay away from Joe Mixon this week. So you got to weigh those options if you think Joe Mixon will be able to get it done. And like I said, I don't know if I trust the Rams running back. So I feel like this is gonna be a a gun it out type of game, and realistically, it benefits both teams.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, I said it before, and I'll say it again. You have the two top receivers this year, like
Absolutely.
duking it out. You have two very capable quarterbacks, and yes, look at Joe Mixon. He's not the fantasy stud. I mean, he gets points, but you're not always looking to draft him in that first round. And you go over to the other side with the Rams. Okay, Henderson might be playing. You say Cam Akers, great. Sony Michel, all good in their own ways, but never to make an impact. And this is the Super Bowl. And I think with just all the media and all the craziness happening around it, you have to come in guns blazing. I think this is going to be a throw. Granted, there will be running, but I think for the most part, this is going to be a fucking 44-43 game. I
I
think
mean,
it's going to be easily over
you,
30.
you better hope it's that number, those two numbers. But
I
but anyway,
have so many pools, I couldn't even tell you what my numbers are.
the only downfall to that is, and it's more of a Bengals downfall, but we've seen it work because Burrow got sacked 9 times against Tennessee and they still won. We talk about it all the time. Their O line is not good. Their O line is not good. Their O line is not good. They've been getting through with it. But
Mhm.
if the Bengals have to throw a lot, the three names you named on that Rams defense benefit from you having to throw the ball because you got Aaron Donald rushing the pass, you got Von Miller rushing the pass, and you got Jalen Ramsey covering a wide receiver. So in that sense, it's like strength for strength. So that would be interesting to see how the O line can hold up against Donald. As I stated before, the double teams don't always work against him. So you got to keep Miller and Donald out of your backfield. Yes, you can work around Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, you can do some fancy plays, some different routes, pick plays, etc. to try and get Chase the ball, or you just have him eliminate him, which would suck for him because you want the best players shining on the big stage. But they need to stop the big boys up front first, and that'll lead to that.
Can they?
That's what we're gonna find out. I don't like I said, it's worked so far. The Chiefs didn't have a great defense. It would have been more interesting if it was Buffalo Bengals for that game because Buffalo could generate a pass rush, etc. to see. Obviously, it didn't happen that way, and then the Chiefs got the overtime. Blah 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 blah. We know what
Mm-hmm.
happened. So the Chiefs didn't have a great pass rush because again, the Titans sacked Joe Burrow 9 times and still lost that game. 9. Who gets sacked 9 times in a game? That's unbelievable. There's no way you should win that game with your quarterback on the ground the whole game. So if
Sure.
anything plays that, you might see a lot of that again, and that's not great news, And then also, if your quarterback's getting hit, always leads to the possibility of them getting hurt as well. You got big guys falling on you, whatever. You're scrambling, you fall awkwardly, whatever. It always leads to those things, and that's the one thing you want to avoid is
You want to protect.
you don't want to lose your quarterback in the biggest game of the year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be a good game. That's one
Well,
thing I know.
that's mostly what I was saying I want, but I think that's mostly what everybody wants. Nobody wants a 52-10 Super Bowl. You're like, wow, so I watched it for the halftime show type of deal.
That is very fair. Anything you want to say?
I heard a rumor. Matt credited it, but I heard a rumor. You ready for it?
Yep.
Tom still does want to play. Are you surprised by this? And then I'll lead into more of that.
No, I wouldn't be surprised he still wants to play.
Yeah.
Will he play is the bigger question.
So, from what a inside source who's close to Tom Brady is saying is that he wants to play for San Fran. So, supposedly there's rumors going around, like Jimmy Garoppolo and a draft pick to Tampa for Brady, blah, 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 things like that. Because he's still under contract, so he would need to be traded. What they said was that Brady knows that Trey Lance isn't ready to take over the helm in San Fran yet, and as you see, they made a deep playoff run with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. So
And
they're
Debo, he would have so much fun with Debo.
they're a ready to win team right now. That he wants to go play with them. So would you be surprised if Tom came back? I mean, I thought he would take longer to make a decision anyway, because if this is what he actually wanted, why are you retiring then? Say, hey, come on, Tampa. I got you Super Bowl. Can you just let me play out my final season there? Make it happen instead of just saying, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, but you don't know those back office antics.
Of course not.
Yeah.
But if this is true, this is coming from a source, who's very close to Tom Brady. If it's a source that's very close to Tom Brady, there's probably some kind of fire where the smoke is.
Does Gronk go with him?
Well, that was another thing that came out
Yep.
because Gronk
Mhm.
originally said that he was going to retire, and then Gronk said he would love to play with Joe Burrow. I mean, at this point, who wouldn't want to play with Joe Burrow? But
Exactly.
Gronk said the one quarterback he'd love to play with, and I was fully when I looked at, I was expecting it's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers hadn't had an elite tight end in a long time. I was thinking, like okay, Gronk and Aaron Rodgers. Depending on where Rodgers ends up, of course.
Oh, now it doesn't sound like San Fran.
That is also true. But like imagining they could be hard because some people think Rodgers to the Raiders. They have Waller. Sure, if Rodgers goes to Denver, that's good. But again, I've talked to other people, and it's like, why would you leave Green Bay, that's got a much easier path to the Super Bowl on the NFC, than going to, say, the AFC West, where you have the Chargers who are capable? If you go to Denver, you have the Chargers who are capable, the Raiders made the playoffs, and the Chiefs made the playoffs. Like, it's such a harder path to the playoffs. Like, why would you want to do that to yourself? But
Okay.
and the last rumor, because this is your boy, and I think Big Chico's texted to us, was Kyler Murray. He unfollowed everybody on Instagram and everything on the socials. He unfollowed all the Cardinals guys. I don't put a ton of stock into that, and I'll get to that in a second. But I'm hearing that he's kind of tired of Cliff Kingsbury. I could probably understand that, but like I said, I think in last week's show, the Cardinals need to add on. I think they'd be perfect fits for Odell Beckham. Bring back Connor, stuff like that. But if he's tired of the head coach, like everybody's panicking, the head coach is going to be the one that's gone. They're not just going to up and trade Kyler Murray. So if you're a Cardinal fan, you're not super concerned about that, because unless he's demanding a trade, if it's just the issues with the coach, you can find a new coach. Can you find a franchise quarterback? I mean, the way he played at the end of the season,
Not so much.
Is he a franchise quarterback right now? Yes. Did he also get drafted in the top 10 in baseball? Yes. So he could always fall back on that if football keeps going the way he played at the back end of the season. Sure. But, realistically, people look at him as a franchise quarterback. You're going to get rid of the coach way before you're going to get rid of a franchise quarterback. So I take less stock in that. My example was unfollowing people. Obviously, I'm very into baseball. There's a Japanese outfielder coming over, and first he followed the Boston Red Sox on Instagram and everything. Oh, he's going to Boston. Then he followed the Mariners on Instagram. So now what? Is he going to Boston and the Mariners? And then he followed the Reds on Instagram. Like, so great. You can't go to all three teams. So just because you follow or unfollow on Instagram doesn't mean a thing. Maybe you didn't want to hear. God, Kyler Murray started 7-0 in the season and you fell apart. You didn't even win a division, and then you threw for 130 yards in a playoff game. Maybe you just didn't want to hear about that right this minute. I don't know. I wouldn't want to hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it happened. I can only learn and get better from it. But I wouldn't want to hear about that. So maybe that's why. But either way, I don't take too much stock into it until something actually happens. But down the road, if they start off slow or something again, don't be shocked if Kingsbury, if said it's true, that Kingsbury gets fired, because he was a great college coach. College and the NFL, two different things. You've seen Harbaugh went back to Michigan, etc. They're just two different things.
I would love if they decided to trade Kyler Murray, because I would take him over in New Orleans. Just putting it out there.
I'm sure lots of teams love it. We saw the interest with Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
The difference with Watson, if there was no, is he going to get suspended, this and that thing, everybody would have taken Watson. And I say that as a Jets fan, the Jets would have taken him and they would have given up the pick to take Wilson. And you'd end up with Wilson possibly on the Texans. So teams would have taken that. Jets would have done it. Giants would have done it. Any team needing a quarterback would have done it. So of course, if they were going to trade Kyler Murray, sure, I can guarantee you half the league would take him. The other thing is, I believe they're trying to sell that team. You're not getting max value for a team if you trade away your best player. Hey, Pete, come buy our team, but we're going to trade Kyler Murray first. Oh, okay. Let me pay you some extra money now that you got rid of our best player. No, that ain't how that works. So
we miss these football talks, but I feel like if anything breaks, like in during the off season. I think once in a while we should come on.
Well, we don't want to lose the momentum, so we're gonna come up with something. Maybe it's a twice a month thing. Expand our horizons because eventually we're gonna want to talk baseball if they ever get it going. We talk video games, so while football is in hibernation, we'll have to keep it going so we don't lose that traction we gain throughout the year. So yeah, we'll be coming to you with something. We're gonna figure that out. So
Well,
we'll post. So maybe like I said, maybe we'll do every other week, and we'll throw it up there on Twitter and whatever, and be like, hey, we're gonna be talking blah 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 this week, or hey, look at all these big free agent signings. Give it some time. Boom, there's free agent signings. Let's talk about them. Is it a good fit? Did they overpay? All those different things. Next week we'll be able to have a show because the Super Bowl will have been played, so it'll give us something to talk about, and then free agency will be starting, and bam.
so if you like all of that, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like the Facebook page, and follow us over on Twitter so you can keep up to date for when this goes live every Thursday at 6:30.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure, sir. My final question, and we're getting
Yeah.
off this air. I said it many times. Give me the final score of the Super Bowl.
I'm gonna say, and I want it to be more. I want to say 24-21.
Rams.
I think so. Like I said, I gotta stick with a lot. You can't pick them in the off season. Have them make it all the way there, then just change your pick. I mean, if everybody got hurt, sure, but you can't pick them and then just be like, oh yeah, you know what? They made it. That's good enough for me. Fuck them.
You heard it here first. Thank you guys. See you next time.